You have things stored inside you that expired years ago. Not just old photos on your phone or clothes in the back of your closet, though those are part of it too. You have entire identities you're still carrying. Versions of yourself you outgrew so long ago they barely resemble who you are now, and yet you keep them. You maintain them, you feed them. Not because they help you, not because they bring you joy, but because at some point, someone convinced you, or maybe you convinced yourself, that holding on is what strong people do. That loyalty means never letting go. That keeping everything, no matter how heavy, no matter how dead, is somehow proof that it mattered. That you mattered. And so your inner world has become a storage unit. Packed floor to ceiling with things you never use, things you never look at, things that stopped being relevant 3 chapters ago. Old beliefs about who you're supposed to be, old narratives about what you deserve. Conversations you replayed so many times they've worn grooves into your brain. The memory of how someone looked at you when they were disappointed. The version of yourself that failed publicly and never fully recovered. The opinion your parents had about your life that you swore you rejected, but secretly built your entire identity around. All of it. Stacked, stored, guarded like treasure. But it's not treasure. It hasn't been treasure in a long time. And somewhere, deep beneath the pile, you know that. You feel the weight of it every single morning when you wake up, and the first thing you notice, before your feet even hit the floor, is that something is heavy. Not your body, something deeper, something that doesn't show up on any scan, something that lives in the space between who you are and who you keep pretending to be. But here's the thing about all that weight you're carrying. You don't have to sort through it. You don't have to organize it. You don't have to understand every single piece before you're allowed to set it down. You just have to be honest enough, brave enough, to admit that most of what you're holding was never yours to keep. And that the act of deleting, of releasing, of walking away with open hands isn't loss. It's the first real breath you've taken in years. Most people hear the word delete and they flinch. Their chest tightens. Their mind floods with images of everything they'd lose. Because we've been wired to associate letting go with grief, with endings, with something being taken from us against our will. But what if deletion isn't destruction? What if it's renovation? What if every single thing you refuse to let go of is taking up the exact space that the next version of your life needs to exist? You can't furnish a new room if the old furniture is still bolted to the floor. And you've been bolting things down for years. Relationships that stopped being mutual. Beliefs about yourself that someone else wrote. Goals that belong to the person you were at 22, not the person you are now. Grudges disguised as boundaries. Nostalgia disguised as love. Fear disguised as loyalty. You've kept all of it. And it hasn't kept you safe. It's kept you small. And here's where it gets deeper. The things you hold on to longest are almost never the things that mattered most. They're the things that hurt most. You don't cling to the good memories with white knuckles. You cling to the painful ones. The rejection, the betrayal, the failure. The moment you realized someone didn't love you the way you loved them. Those are the files you can't bring yourself to delete. Not because they serve you, but because your nervous system has confused familiarity with safety. If you've carried something long enough, it starts to feel like a part of your body. Like removing it would mean removing a limb. So you keep it. Not because it's useful, but because the idea of existing without it feels like free fall. Think about the last time you tried to genuinely let something go. Not talk about letting it go. Not post about letting it go. Actually let it go. Remember what happened inside your body? That pull, that voice that whispered, "But what if you need this later? What if this is the thing that keeps you grounded? What if letting go means forgetting, and forgetting means it didn't matter?" That voice sounds reasonable. It sounds like wisdom, but it's not wisdom. It's fear wearing a very convincing costume. Because letting go doesn't mean it didn't matter. It means it's done mattering in the way it used to. It means the lesson has been absorbed and the packaging can be discarded. You don't keep the cast on after the bone has healed. You don't sleep in the hospital after you've been discharged. But emotionally, that's exactly what you've been doing. Sleeping in rooms you were supposed to leave years ago, wearing casts around bones that healed a long time ago, and wondering why you can't move freely. Now here's something that might sound strange, but stay with it. You are not your memories. I know that feels wrong. I know your memories feel like the most intimate, essential parts of who you are. But they're not you. They're records. They're files. Some of them are accurate. A lot of them aren't. Your mind has been editing those memories for years, adjusting the lighting, rewriting the dialogue, adding weight to moments that were lighter than you remember, and softening moments that were sharper than you'd like to admit. The version of the past you carry around isn't even the real past. It's a draft. A story you told yourself so many times it calcified into something that feels like fact. And now you're making decisions, real, present-tense decisions about your real, present-tense life, based on a story that was never fully true to begin with. That relationship you keep replaying, the one that ended badly, you're not remembering it. You're remembering your interpretation of it. And that interpretation has been filtered through pain, through ego, through the desperate need to make sense of something that maybe just didn't make sense. And that's okay. Not everything needs to be understood. Some things just need to be released. But you've told yourself that you can't release what you haven't fully processed, that you need closure, that you need understanding, that the letting go has to come after the figuring out. And so you stay stuck in the analysis. You stay stuck in the loop, turning it over and over in your mind like a Rubik's Cube that doesn't actually have a solution, because some experiences aren't puzzles to be solved. They're weather. They passed through you. They changed the landscape, and now the sky is different. You don't need to understand the storm to walk outside after it's over. But let's be honest, it's not just old memories you're hoarding, it's old versions of yourself. There's a version of you that was the responsible one, the caretaker, the one who held everything together while everyone else fell apart. And maybe that version served a purpose at the time. Maybe it kept you safe, kept your family stable, kept your world from collapsing. But that season is over. The emergency has passed, and you're still standing at your post, still scanning the horizon for danger that isn't coming, still bracing for impact from a storm that already hit. Or maybe there's a version of you that was the achiever, the one who made their parents proud, the one who stacked accomplishment on top of accomplishment like bricks in a wall, not because they loved building, but because they were terrified of what would be visible if the wall came down. The emptiness, the not enoughness, the suspicion that without the titles and the trophies and the resume, there might not be anything there at all. And so you kept building. You kept collecting proof that you mattered. And now you have a wall so tall you can't even see over it. Can't see the life on the other side. Can't see the person you might become if you stopped performing long enough to just exist. And here's the part most people aren't ready to hear. You've been performing so long that you've forgotten what's underneath the performance. The identity you're clinging to. The helpful one, the strong one, the funny one, the one who never needs anything. That's not who you are. That's who you learned to be in order to survive a specific environment. And the environment changed, but the adaptation didn't. You're still running software designed for a world that no longer exists. And every day you keep running it, you burn energy you don't have, protecting against threats that aren't there, playing roles that no one is casting you in anymore. Deleting an identity sounds terrifying because it sounds like becoming no one. But that's the lie. It's not becoming no one. It's becoming available. Available for something truer. Something that doesn't require you to perform to be loved. Something that doesn't demand you shrink or inflate to fit. When you delete the role, you don't disappear. You just stop pretending. And what's left? The raw, unscripted, unpolished thing underneath. That's the part people actually connect with. That's the part that's been suffocating under all the masks you've been too afraid to remove. Let me ask you something. How many of your current opinions are actually yours? Not the ones you inherited from your parents. Not the ones you absorbed from your social circle because agreeing was easier than thinking. Not the ones you adopted at 19 because someone you admired believed them and you wanted to be like them. How many of the things you say you believe have been stress-tested by your actual lived experience? Because most people are walking around with a head full of borrowed beliefs. Beliefs about money, about success, about what kind of person deserves love, about what kind of life is respectable. And they defend those beliefs with their whole chest without ever stopping to ask, wait, do I actually believe this? Or did someone just install it in me before I had the capacity to question it? This is the invisible clutter. The kind you can't see when you open a drawer or clean out a closet. It lives in your assumptions, in the rules you follow without knowing why, in the way you automatically say yes to things that drain you and no to things that would feed you, in the guilt you feel when you rest, in the shame you feel when you change your mind, in the panic you feel when someone disagrees with you, because deep down, you're not even sure what you actually think. You just know what you're supposed to think. And you've been building your entire life on top of that supposed to. And that's not even the real shift. The real shift is this. Every single thing you refuse to delete becomes a vote for the past. Every old belief you carry, every dead relationship you revisit in your mind, every outdated version of yourself you keep performing, each one is an anchor. And anchors don't just keep you from drifting, they keep you from moving. You've been wondering why your life feels stuck, why the same patterns keep repeating, why you keep attracting the same kinds of people, the same kinds of situations, the same kinds of pain. It's not bad luck. It's not the universe punishing you. It's because you keep showing up as someone you no longer are, and life keeps responding to that signal. You're broadcasting an old frequency and wondering why the new station never comes in. You want a new life? Delete the old signal, not some of it, the parts that are dead, the parts that are rotting behind the walls of your identity while you spray air freshener and pretend everything smells fine. You know which parts I'm talking about. You've known for a while now. You just haven't given yourself permission to actually pull the plug. Because pulling the plug means admitting it's over, admitting you wasted time, admitting you were wrong, admitting that the thing you defended for years, the thing you organized your entire personality around, was never as solid as you told everyone it was. And that admission feels like dying. Not physically, but identity death, ego death. The kind of death where you have to walk into a room full of people who knew the old you and let them see that you've changed. Let them be confused. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them say, "You've changed," like it's an accusation. And instead of defending yourself, instead of shrinking back into the familiar shape, you just nod. Yeah, I have. Think about what a river does when something blocks its path. It doesn't stop. It doesn't reverse. It doesn't sit there and grieve the obstruction. It goes around it. It finds a new way. It erodes what needs to be eroded, and it keeps moving. Not because it's heartless, because that's what living things do. They move. They adapt. They release what can't come with them. The river doesn't carry every rock it's ever touched. If it did, it wouldn't be a river anymore. It would be a pile of stones. And some of you, and I say this with the most care I can put into words, some of you have stopped being rivers. You've become piles. Collections of everything you've ever touched, felt, lost, feared, loved, and regretted. And you call that collection me. But it's not you. It's what happened to you. There's a difference. And once you see that difference, you can't unsee it. You start to realize that your identity was never supposed to be a museum. It was supposed to be a current, moving, shedding, refreshing, taking in new things and letting old things fall. Not with cruelty, with grace. The way autumn doesn't mourn the leaves, it releases them because that's how the tree survives the winter. That's how the new growth becomes possible in spring. The tree doesn't hold on to every leaf it's ever grown and call it loyalty. It lets them go and calls it life. So, what are you still holding? What name are you still answering to that doesn't fit anymore? What story are you still telling at dinner parties that you've outgrown, but keep repeating because it's familiar, because people expect it, because without it, you wouldn't know what to say? What belief about yourself are you still defending? Not because it's true, but because you've defended it so long that backing down now would mean confronting every decision you made while believing it. You don't have to burn it all down. That's not what this is about. Deletion doesn't mean destruction. It means discernment. It means walking through the rooms of your inner life, the ones you've kept locked, the ones you shove things into and close the door quickly, and deciding, honestly, what still belongs. What still reflects who you are becoming, not just who you were. Some things will stay. The lessons, the love, the wisdom that only comes from having survived something hard. Those stay. They've earned their place. But the guilt, the shame, the narrative that says you're damaged goods because of something that happened when you were too young to protect yourself. The belief that you don't deserve ease because you've never had it. The voice in your head that sounds like someone who left but never really left because you gave them permanent residency in your mind. Delete it. Not because it wasn't real, because it's finished. And here's where most people get stuck. They agree with all of this in theory. They nod along. They feel the truth of it in their bones. But then they go back to their life and they keep every single thing exactly where it is. Not because they're weak, but because the familiar, even when it's painful, feels safer than the unknown. The devil you know, the ache you've memorized, the pattern you can predict. There's a twisted kind of comfort in a wound you understand. At least you know what to expect. At least you know how to navigate it. The new, the unfamiliar, the open space that comes after deletion, that has no map. And we're terrified of spaces without maps. But the most honest version of your life exists in that unmapped space. It always has. Every good thing that ever happened to you happened after you stepped into something you couldn't plan for. The friendship you didn't expect. The opportunity that came from the door that closed. The moment of peace that found you not when you were striving, but when you finally stopped. The open space isn't empty. It's available. It's the field where the next version of your life is waiting to be planted. But you can't plant anything new if your hands are full of old seeds that already died. So here's what this really comes down to. You have two choices, and you make one of them every single day, whether you realize it or not. You can keep holding, keep storing, keep archiving every version of yourself, every hurt, every outdated belief, every relationship that ran its course, and call it depth. Call it complexity. Call it who you are. Or you can start deleting, not recklessly, not to punish yourself or erase your history, but with the quiet, grounded understanding that you are not a museum. You are not an archive. You are a living, breathing, evolving being who deserves to move through this world without dragging 10 years of dead weight behind you like chains you mistook for jewelry. The things that are meant for you will remain. They won't need to be gripped. They won't need to be guarded. They'll sit easily in your life because they belong there. And the things that don't belong, the ones you've been white-knuckling for years, terrified that releasing them means losing yourself, those will fall away. And when they do, you won't feel emptier. You'll feel lighter. Like taking off a coat you forgot you were wearing. Like stepping out of a room you didn't realize had no windows. Like your lungs suddenly remember what a full breath feels like. And in that lightness, something new begins. Not loud, Not dramatic, not the kind of transformation that makes a good before and after post. Something quieter, something truer. You start to notice who you are without the performance. You start to hear your own voice underneath all the borrowed ones. You start making choices that feel clean, not calculated, not defensive, not reactionary, just clean. Like water finding its level, like a compass that finally stopped spinning. You don't have to figure it all out tonight. You don't have to delete everything at once. You just have to start with one thing. One belief you've been carrying that you know, in the honest part of your chest, isn't true anymore. One memory you've been replaying not because it heals you, but because it haunts you. One version of yourself you've been performing because you're afraid of what's underneath. Start there. Just one. Hold it in your mind. Look at it clearly. Thank it if you need to. And then let it go. Not with force, with breath, with the kind of gentleness you'd show someone you love. Because that someone is you. And you've been carrying things on their behalf for far too long. The room is lighter now. Can you feel it? Not because something was added, because something was finally removed. That's the secret no one talks about. The life you want isn't built by adding more. It's revealed by removing what was never supposed to stay. If something in this hit a nerve, not the comfortable kind, but the kind that tells you something is ready to move, drop the word delete in the comments. Not for me, not for the algorithm, for you. A small, quiet declaration that you're ready to stop carrying what's already finished. And if you want more of this, no performance, no pressure, just honest words that meet you where you actually are, subscribe. We'll keep going. See you in the next one.